And we all kind of think we like this idea of being successful, financially free, traveling the world, but how bad do we really want it? Welcome to the Entrepreneur Motivation Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Bello, and today we are talking about how your why will help you figure out the how. Oftentimes, we just don't have a strong enough why. We kind of think we want something and we take a couple of little actions here and there towards them, but we just can't seem to figure it out. We can't seem to crack the code. And why is that? It's because we most likely don't really want it. We've talked about this before on the show. How bad do you really want it? Do you want it as much as you want to breathe, like the Eric Thomas video talks about, if you're familiar with that? And we all kind of think we like this idea of being successful, financially free, traveling the world, but how bad do we really want it? And what is our why? If we don't have a strong enough why, we're not going to do what it takes to figure out the necessary how. I've got a friend who is crushing it in real estate, taking a whole bunch of action. And I remember asking him, like, how do you keep yourself motivated? Because for me, you may have a number in your mind. Once you hit that goal, that target, you take your foot off the gas, things seem like they're going well, and you start to coast a little bit. And I found myself doing that. I hit a couple of goals that I had for myself, and I took my foot off the gas, and my income started to go down as I took my foot off the gas. And I had to reignite that passion and spark inside of me to do what it takes to show up, to do the things that I used to do that got me to where I wanted to be. But even then, I know that the things that got me to where I wanted to be at one point are not going to be the same things that will get me to that next level, right? What you did to get here is not what's going to get you there, or what got you here won't get you there for short. And so digging into your why, that friend, he said he's pushing so hard because he literally just had a kid and he wanted the best life for his kid. He wants to be able to send his kid to the best schools. Being able to put that on and push for someone else enables us to take more action than if we were just doing it for ourselves. Perfect example. If you follow me on social media, you saw that I just posted this yesterday. I was in Nashville for the Arete Syndicate live event. Awesome event, super amazing people out there crushing it at all levels. And I just had a chance to connect with so many cool people and learn a ton. But on my Uber drive to the airport on Sunday morning, I was just chatting with the Uber driver, and I had a 6 a.m. flight. I had an early flight, so he came. I had a scheduled Uber ride at 3:50 a.m. from the Airbnb to take me straight to the airport so I could make it there on time. And, side tip, you got to get TSA pre-check, do the whole 9 yards so that you're not waiting anywhere. You just roll right through. And this is just my advice now, of course, unless you're at that level where you could just charter a jet, which is something that I'd love to do. So random side note. But anyway, talking to this guy, it's 3:50 a.m. I'm tired. I probably had 3 or 4 hours of sleep at this point. And I'm just admiring this guy like, wow, good on you. You're hustling. You're up here early. You're grinding. You're driving when everyone else is sleeping type thing. And I could tell he had an accent like from Nigeria. So I just started talking to him and, asked how long he's been in Nashville. He's been living there for 4 or 5 years. Before that, he had lived in Michigan for 2 years, thought it was too cold all the time. And so he moved to Nashville. And I was asking him how much he drives, like how is Uber going for him? What's he up to? And he said he probably drives a total of 10 to 12-hour days with a couple of breaks in between, I'm sure, to eat or I don't know, maybe take a nap or something. 10 to 12-hour days, 6 to 7 days a week. Now, we didn't really talk about family or his wife or if he has any kids or anything like that. It was a relatively short ride, about 15 minutes, I believe, to the airport. And I was just impressed. Man, this guy drives a lot. He puts in a lot of time to most likely support his family. I'm sure he ain't driving 7 days a week, 10 to 12 hours a day just to buy the next pair of Jordans. Like, I'm very sure and certain that that was not the case. He has a very strong why. And I posted that. A Nigerian friend of mine did reply back to one of my stories saying like, yeah, it's like that out there. You got to work to survive. Let me see exactly what she was saying, but I totally got it. So she replied to my story. I'm in Nigeria right now and I see the hustle firsthand, which is when Nigerians come to America, they usually flourish because the grind in Nigeria compared to America is way different. They have a stronger why. I'm not just going to say everyone there does, but things are different. And I replied back realizing, look, I got foreign parents. My dad's from India. My mom's from Mexico. They came here. My mom didn't know any English. They had to figure things out and, make their way in the US. And that's a different type of hustle than a lot of us who have been born and kind of given that silver spoon and somewhat more entitled. I'm speaking for all of us, and I don't mean to throw you under the bus if that's not you. Awesome. But I recognize in myself, I grew up with the entitlement mentality and I deserve this. And I totally can feel that within myself of like, that job's below me. I'm not going to do that, things like that. And I told her, the hustle is too real. Homie picked me up at 3:40 a.m. I definitely don't have that kind of drive or work ethic. Like I realize that I don't, and I want to, I really do, but maybe I just don't want it bad enough, or maybe I don't have to worry about feeding kids or anything like that. Like I don't have kids. So my wife and I, we've chatted about this. We're not sure if we want kids necessarily. And if we do, it's not going to be for some time. But I was joking with my friend who said his kid was his motivator. Like, man, maybe I need to get me one of them babies so that I can be more motivated to wake up, do what needs to be done, put food on the table, send that kid to a great school. Because for myself, I'm kind of like, I'm cool. I'm wearing this shirt. I'm not a very fancy person. I think I got this from my brother's closet when I was visiting in town 4 or 5 years ago. It's like this Volcom skate shirt. He had an extra one. And I'm living in Colorado. I live near the mountains. We got an epic pass for the season. We're going to be skiing next weekend. Like, I'm pretty happy with life, but I don't want to settle. I don't want to be content. And I know you don't either. So my advice for you is to really tap into your why. What is your why? Why do you do what you do? Who are you doing it for? I did say I'm married. I said wife in there. I think I've messed up on the last episode and said fiance. It's going to take a couple of weeks of getting used to. But now I got this ring on my finger to remind me I've got a wife. I've got a Mrs. Bello now. And I want her to have an awesome life. I was telling, feel a little bit emotional here, but I went to a men's circle group recently, and it was 3 or 4 of us talking. And I was sharing how, my numbers are down from last year. Real estate, I'm feeling the shift of the market with the interest rates rising and less people doing transactions. I have not made like the money that I have been making or that I was projecting to make this year, while I've taken on a whole lot of expenses like business coach, life coach, traveling to events, Arete Syndicate, all these different things. And so I am feeling the pressure of moving to a new state, not quite making the same money that I was making or was expecting to make right away. Things are down. So I'm trying to cut back on some costs while also maintaining investments in myself. I'm probably still paying about $1,500 a month for business coaching, the mastermind that I'm in, all of those types of things, while cutting back in other areas that maybe I don't, like I'm spending money on softwares that I'm not using, like trimming those things back. So perhaps you can relate. Everyone always talks about how they're crushing it all the time. And I just want to be real with you. I was real with the guys at this men's group that I'm feeling the pressure of like, man, I'm not making what I want to make right now. And I'm still spending more than I'm bringing in on many months somehow, just investments, not on dumb stuff, but like, with the costs of everything going up and fuel and living and rent and your mortgages, all those types of things are going up. And with all my clients, many of my clients pulling back and just going into like hermit crab mode, they're not doing real estate transactions, which means that I'm not helping them with those, which means that my income has taken a noticeable hit. And the why was there when I was sharing at the men's group was, I don't want to be that guy who can't go on a nice trip with my wife or take her where she wants to go or buy her something for Valentine's Day or her birthday because funds are tight. I think this was in the movie 8 Mile where Eminem, I remember hearing that he was super emotional and sad, and maybe it's in a rap song about Haley, his daughter or something, I can't remember, but he couldn't afford presents at Christmas. And that was the worst feeling for him in the world, because that's all you want to do. If you've got that kid, I would imagine bringing that experience to them, getting gifts for them, getting them what they want. When all the other kids are getting gifts and cool things at Christmas and you can't get anything for your kids because you can't afford it, that must be super painful. And so I kind of try to tap into that internal darkness and somewhat negative energy of, I don't want to not be able to afford to give the life of my dreams and my wife's dreams to her and us. I want us to fly first class next day to Mykonos and spend a night at that $1,000 a night place that we ate at one time. We went to the restaurant and I just had a curiosity, looked at the rates of the rooms, $1,000 a night for some of these rooms, $1,200 a night for some of these rooms. And I did tell her, and I meant it. This was in 2018. I said, we're going to come back and we're going to stay here one day. And I believe it, but my why was not strong enough. I did not really want it. I don't think that I really wanted it. I just kind of liked the idea of it. And so if you can tap into your why, feel the pain of not being able to do the things you want to do, not being able to live the life of your dreams, and really just let that fuel you so that when you show up, when you're about to quit, you do that extra thing. You knock on that extra door, you make that extra call, you record that extra podcast video, you send out that email. Maybe you go to one more networking event than you were planning to this week, you meet that next connection. And that's when things start to change. So if you're not sure how to find the how, find your why. If you tap into your why, your how will be much easier to figure out. And you may have heard that quote, just to sum this all up and wrap it up in a nice bow. He or she who has a strong enough why can figure out almost anyhow, or he who has a strong why can bear almost anyhow, something like that. So tap into your why, identify it, figure out, why are you doing everything you're doing? What is it for? And for me, when I open up my lock screen and I see on my home screen of my phone, it's me and my wife, when our engagement photos, when I see that, it forces me to show up in a different way. What can I do with that next real estate deal? What can I do with the commissions from that? Investing, going on that trip to, if I can land this client and make a $20,000 commission, like, I think I'll treat us to something nice, maybe a nice dinner, the place that she loves to go, an expensive bottle of wine, right? Like something other than the $20 bottles, maybe like 50 or 60 bucks. We'll splurge a little bit. And seeing the look on her face makes me want to be able to push harder every single day. So do you have a significant other? Do you have some kids? Are you doing this for your parents? Are you trying to retire your parents? Tap into that why, and you will figure out the how. So with that said, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you feel somewhat more motivated to wake up and conquer your goals and dreams and make it happen today. And reach out if you got any questions, if you have any feedback or tips or anything like that. Chris Bello _ on Instagram is the best place to find me, or you can find this video on YouTube and just drop a comment below. That's also an easy way for me to easily identify the comments tied to the certain video or topic. But with that said, that's it for this episode. I'll catch you on the next one. Have a great rest of your day. Find your why, and you'll figure out anyhow.